Alexander Volkanovski just became the second person. No, sorry, restart.
No.
Restart. No. This one's a real restart. That fact is already wrong.
No restarts, man. No restarts.
Fine. Alexander Volkanovski is the only person to ever win a title over 36 years old at 155 or under. And it was by far one of the biggest fights of his career. He got his belt back after getting knocked out 2 times in a row. And we've seen clip after clip of adversity is a privilege. And him leaning into the fact that things were not well, and I dug myself deep, I worked my way back up, and I got back to my title. But we're also seeing the other side of it. Diego Lopez in his locker room crying distraught. Michael Chandler in his locker room with his son sharing a snack and giving him some words of encouragement. So the question becomes, what does the other side look like? We know how amazing it is for some of these people to win the belt, but what does it look like when you're that close and you don't win and you fall short and you have to build yourself back up, especially somebody like Diego Lopez who was surging, coming forward, was this close to actually winning the belt and couldn't quite do it. Josh, you've lost a handful of times. What's that like?
Wow, rough crowd out here today.
Does it do the losses? Is there a difference between them?
No, losing's losing. I mean, that's the way that I've always looked at it. I mean, sure, it stings a little bit more when it's a title shot because you don't know if you're ever going to get back there. I mean, think about Dan Marino never getting back to being able to get a Super Bowl. I mean, there's just opportunities that are there. You never know if you're going to end up getting it back. Fighting's a little bit different because you have a little bit more control over your destiny, right? In football, basketball, you're relying on your teammates to help carry you a little bit. Doesn't matter how dominant you are, right? Michael Jordan still needed Pippen. You know, LeBron, he's needed every all-star he could possibly get to even just win 4. You know what I mean? But like fighters, we rely on ourselves. I mean, obviously we have coaches and corners and trainers and everything else. But at the end of the day, it's us that gets it done inside the cage. I would like to say this. So when you say, before we even get started onto this whole thing, when you say to win his title back, what does that mean to you? Like everyone says that because he was the champion for a while, but like, would you say like it was Max's title too? Was it Aldo's title as well? Like what do you say? Like realistically, he lost it legitly, and to get his title, why is it his title? It's if you were to, and this is no dig at Volk. This is for everyone that says I'm gonna go back and get my title back. This is my title. No, you lost it. You literally lost it legitly. So I always wondered why people say that. Is that a mental thing for them? I mean, I'm on the fighter side, and I still can't wrap my head around like that's my title. No, I lost it. Like legit, you lost it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't know. I think I say his because he had it and now he's getting back to it. Like when, because I guess you could argue it's Ilya's. Ilya didn't actually lose it. He just walked away from it. So if Ilya said, you're just keeping my belt warm, that's actually a valid thing to say. I don't know. I said get his belt back because it was his for a long period of time and now he just won it back. So I guess that's sort of where I went with it.
I was just trying. I wasn't asking for a true explanation. I was just wanting to know.
Oh, that was rhetorical.
I want to know what your thought process was on this, on why we say that, and why do you think fighters say it? Yeah.
Well, I think fighters say it because there's some sentimental. They truly, but this is mine. This is mine. I own this. And even, I mean, you tell me. Even after, how realistic are fighters after a loss? Like, do you lose, and then actually, like Volk when he lost to Ilya, got knocked out, but he had some moments of success. Is he sort of, I don't want to say delusional, but is there some sort of like, I was right. If I didn't make this one mistake, I would have won that fight. Or is it like, no, I was losing no matter what?
You know, I couldn't tell you what's in their mindset because like in my circumstances, in my situations, every single time I always took the full blame of it. Didn't matter how it happened or what happened. I just took the blame. I lost that fight. 100% I lost that fight. It was never my coach's fault. It was never anybody else's fault. And I never blamed it on any issues I had outside the cage. The only fight that I would say that I felt like I lost, and I lost because of the injury, was because of what happened in the Benson fight in the first round. I literally tore all the ligaments in my thumb and into my wrist. I couldn't, like my thumb, I could show you guys. I had pins put in, but I literally, there was moments, Big John will tell you as well, where the tip of my nail had pushed into my skin because the bone had dislocated and broke. And so the bone was down here into my hand. So it was pushed into here, and all you saw was my skin folded over like an uncircumcised penis, and all you saw was my nail hanging out of the top. And that's really what it looked like. And so at moments when I tried to fight hands, when Benson had his hands locked around me, I went to push down and fight hands to break grip. all I saw was my thumb nail go push into my skin, and my thumbnail was like down here where my knuckle should have been. I almost threw up in my mouth, literally, like inside the cage. I looked at John, I looked at me, and he looked at me, and he was like, "Oh man, this is a wrap." But it is what it is. But I mean, like at that moment, I was like, to me, that's the reason, because that happened in the first round. I didn't notice it until in between the first and the second. But those are like, outside of that, no. Every single time, I've always thought to myself, you could have done better. You should have done better. And you had moments in the fight. Sure, you could have capitalized on it. You could have pushed a little bit harder. Those are regrets you're gonna, I think, always live with. You think to yourself, but I couldn't tell you why people think that way, or why, like in those moments. I don't know how they blame it or who they blame it on. But no, absolutely not. I don't know. That was just me. But I think from my perspective, fighters say that to mentally get into somebody else's mind. Did I really beat that person? How did I get this title? Like, did I earn it? And like, I think it's more of to get into their opponent's mindset, that you're just holding it for me until I get it back. It's really mine. I had an off night and I'm going to get it back. Like, I was the champ for so long before you got it, and I'm going to be the champ again because you're just a placeholder. I think it's more of a mental thing. I believe more of a mental fuck for the people that have the title now.
Sure.
So
do you think it's healthier if you're the losing fighter, if you're Diego, right? Because Diego's a good example, because like Michael Chandler got outclassed every inch of it. I don't know what he could have done differently. Like, he just got beat. Every aspect of MMA, he got beat. He had some wrestling success, didn't last very long. Yeah. Diego he could have won that fight. He had moments. He was very close. Several times he just felt a little gun shy. So he definitely has a lot of things that he can really start to regret and just beat himself up over. Is it healthier? This is me asking you as the fighter. Is it healthier for him to go back and be like, I should have won that fight, I was about to win that fight, and that was my fight, blah, blah, blah? Or is it healthier for him to be like, I'm not good enough, I need to work on these things? Like, which one's healthier? You know what I'm saying? Like the little bit of cluelessness, or just way too realistic?
Well, telling yourself you're not good enough, you're obviously in the title fight too, because you were good enough. That's one. Two is a tweak here and a tweak there in that fight, and the fight could have went a different way. So I don't think he needs to change. He doesn't need to change much, if anything. He just needs to have a different mindset in that fourth and fifth round when he could have pushed a little bit harder, and that was about it. So for him in the back, when we saw that video footage of him, it's literally eating him up.
Yeah,
that he lost that fight. That he knows that there was moments in there I could have pushed. There was moments where he's pointing at the ground. He's doing this. Come on. Well, Volk's outpointing him. Volk's touching him.
Why would he do that?
Yeah. Why would I go out of my way, realizing that I'm probably winning 3-1 or 2-2, but I'm winning this round doing what I'm doing right now because you haven't hit me. And so all I gotta do is just keep doing what I'm doing in this round, and I've won this title back. And for him in those moments, he had to throw caution to the wind. He had already lost the first 2.5 minutes and was not having any success. And he started like literally pointing at the ground, going, come on, bring it to me. That to me, honestly, like, I know I'm half Mexican. I grew up in a Mexican household. I know how, like, there's that fighting spirit kind of, we grew up watching, boxing, just everything about it is a little less show, but a lot more intensity. And in that moment, I needed to see a little less show and a lot more intensity. Like, take a shot to give a shot, go out on your shield. That's what Hispanics are known for. That's what he should have been out there doing. I really believe that he just, in a moment, there was more frustration. He couldn't get his hands on Volk, and you saw the frustration. That's from being young. He has a long ways to go. He's in the prime of his life. He had a great run, from his first fight into the UFC on short notice, losing to Evloev, and then coming back and rattling off the consecutive wins, getting the title shot, and doing it in impressive fashion. I mean, he came up short. He will be back, and Evloev's going to get that shot. In terms of with the Michael Chandler situation, what was your initial thought process when you saw that video?
Of him with his son?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just felt like, he knew he got beat, and he knew it was probably tough for his kid to watch. And it just felt like a moment with like a dad just trying to compensate for what his kid is seeing by being overly happy and overly, you know what I mean? Like, that couldn't have been easy for his kid to watch, and he's just
Yeah.
in there eating what Nutella stick with his kid and just trying to be too positive about it. And I didn't take. Some people are like, "Oh, fake, fake, fake." There's nothing. I don't think there was anything fake about that moment. I think he like saw on his kid's face that his kid is looking at his idol. Every kid idolizes their father. His dad is beat to shit. Like, he looked bad. He could barely laugh. He was like coughing up God knows what. So I think that was really just Michael turning on turning on the positivity for his kid's sake, because that's what his kid was watching.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. In that situation, it was tough for me to watch because I could see all the things that he was going through. I've been through the exact same thing, especially in the Tony Ferguson fight. I use this just my story, and then I'm going to go ahead and correlate it to exactly what Chandler was going through. Literally, like, you see him laughing, right? And I don't think that has anything to do with like his ribs hurting and that stuff. Your body is in this shock mode of shivering, and he doesn't know what to do. He didn't put a shirt on yet. It's still fresh. He's got an air cast on his right arm, which means it's probably broken or there's a fracture in his right arm. He's got stuff wrapped around his shin. He's got ice wrapped around his shin. He's bleeding from the top of his knee. You can see that. I mean, he's banged up. His cheek is cut pretty bad. He's going to need stitches if he hadn't already got them. It didn't look like he had gotten the stitches yet. These are all things that his son's looking at him. He's trying to be positive. And I've made it very vocal on my own show, but as well as this one, I mean, like, I brought it up. I'm not a fan of Michael Chandler, but in this situation and scenario, you have nothing but respect for the young man, and I call him young because he is a lot younger than me, 10 years younger than me. So I just simply think to myself, I'm like, man, that's very impressive that you were able to hold it all together for your son. And I'm very happy to see that. That's it. Very encouraging. My story with that situation is after the Tony Ferguson fight, I've never let my kids watch me fight. My kids actually, especially my son, he didn't even know I was a fighter until he was in third grade. And I've never told him about my fights. I don't show him my fights. None of them. Not like I go around.
Still to this day, he's never seen one?
He's been able to look them up. You can find them on, most of them.
Your kid has some.
Yeah. But we don't do a lot of iPads in our house. So there's give them a certain amount of time. And the last thing they're going to do is go looking up your dad, on social media.
And kids in his school don't do it?
The parents, I think, talk about it and this and that.
Yeah.
And there's some conversation. He's come home and, they talk. He gets a little embarrassed, I think, oh, my dad's they basically say, oh, your dad's famous, in that kind of situation scenario. But he's just like, he's my dad. And so I've told him that. I said, you just keep it even kill because I'm just your dad. That's really what it comes down to. So in those situations with the Tony Ferguson situation, let me tell you, I had taken such a beating in that fight that I went back into the locker room, and we were in San Diego, and they had showers back there, and I was rinsing off. I had gotten stripped down to nothing, was in the shower. The water was scorching hot, but I was still shivering. Yeah. I mean, what I saw from Chandler was exactly that, trying to hold it together. I mean, I just remember sitting there for almost 45 minutes while the water was scorching, my skin was red. And I was still shivering. Your body's just in shock. You're trying to wrap your head around everything. And they were still trying to stitch me up and get me all fixed up and stuff. And I was there for a long time. Literally, I had to they had to send a separate car service to pick me up and bring me back to the hotel because they had put, I want to say I had 28 stitches on the right side of my head. I had another 30 stitches in 3 different Mercedes-Benz cuts on the top of my head. And so I was there getting stitched up for a good 2 hours. After the fight, we were the co-main event. So it just was in that situation where my body was in shock. I was shivering. They had blankets over me and my body was still in shock. That lets you know that what these fighters go through. Everyone's used to seeing, Angelo, you guys are all used to seeing, not just you guys, not casuals like yourself, but most people are used to seeing just the happy side. The guy goes to the press conference. He's drinking his Monster or whatever drink they have in front of him. He's talking about who's next and what's next and getting the bonus and this and that. But the guy who's not up there, the one who lost, he's in the back looking like Michael Chandler. He's in the back looking like Diego Lopez. He's in the back looking like myself. There was an old video of John Fitch who he did a documentary. And when he fought GSP leading up to that fight, and there was a clip of him because the UFC wouldn't let him film himself, that he basically snuck by taking a video footage with his phone. And it was him just breaking down after that performance. And that was, he literally lost every single round of that fight and just so frustrated, so just defeated and depleted and everything. And those are the sides that people don't realize. They don't see that. They don't see how much that they've given. When you see a fighter inside the locker room after their fight and they're shivering and they're shaking, that's because they gave it their all. They're just, their body is in shock. They're trying to figure out, how do I re-up my energy, my blood level, whatever it is. How do I get my body out of this position of shock? And I don't know. There's no answer. I can't tell you what it is. I mean, it took me a good probably 3 hours to stop shivering. And it was, we were on the West Coast. I mean, like, it was probably like 12:30, 1 o'clock by the time I stopped shivering. It might have been the whiskeys I had that warmed me up, but it was, you know what I mean? It was something along those lines. So I know I've said enough, but I'm simply saying, like, it's heartwarming to see Chandler the way he is. It's heartbreaking to see Diego the way it was. And when I watched my friend John Fitch go through the same thing, I've seen plenty of these guys in the back, plenty of them. I've coached them, I've cornered them, all of them, from Phil Baroni, Trevor Prangley, DC to Kane to everyone. I mean, I've worked their corners at some point in time. But Habib, most obviously Habib's was all wins, but I mean, simply saying, like, there's been times where I've worked these guys as corners, and then there's the happiness and the love for the sport when you win, and there's just the agony of defeat, as they would say.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting to see, and obviously it's heartbreaking, especially the circumstances for both of those fights. How long does that last? Meaning, not the shivering, not the physical piece, but how long are you just like and it's got to be different circumstances for different fights, but in that sort of, like, I'm not gonna say depression, but you get my point. Like, how long are you feeling bad for yourself and like, I screwed up, I fucked this up, whatever. I know every fighter's different. Some probably rush right back to the gym, and others just sort of wallow in their sorrow there. But how long is that typically before you start to really turn that corner and be like, all right, it happens, you lose, it's fine, let's get back to it?
I couldn't tell you. I think everyone is different. Like, it depends. Like, when I fought Gilbert the second time, I had to sleep with a neck roll pillow on, sitting up in the couch, because I couldn't put my head down on a pillow because I had lumps and cuts all over my head. Little small cuts, but I had huge lumps, from the front part of his knuckles hitting my head because he wasn't turning his punches over. And so I would end up with like basically lumps all over, and I had to sleep with a neck roll pillow. The Tony Ferguson one, I had stitches everywhere in my head, so I had to be careful how I put my head down. So I had to kind of sleep with my head up on a neck roll pillow again. Those things last for a couple days, like, in terms of where it makes you have to continuously think about it. Like, shit, this sucks. It's sucks walking around. I can't put my head on the pillow. You don't want to get blood all over your pillow from the stitches or the sheets or whatever it is. Like, there's a lot of things that go through your mind. Fights where you just lose, where you lost a decision or something, and you're banged up, but it's nothing major. That's a little different. Those fights, my third fight with Gilbert, I wasn't really banged up. I had a fucked up knee going into the fight, but I mean, I wasn't banged up after the couple little lip abrasions, a little bit of my eye was swollen a little bit. And the next day, I was more upset that I did feel like I should have finished him in the fourth. I had moments to finish the fight. I didn't, and just really upset that I didn't get the decision. It really depends. I think every fighter is different. For me, with the other two fights, I felt like it lasted longer because I was actually still going through agony of like pain and stuff for another couple of days, which it keeps it fresh in your mind. But after the next day, I got through that next day. You're depressed. You're not depressed, but you're upset at yourself. Some people blame others, but I mean, that's not really my MO. So it just was kind of like, man, this sucks. And then getting back to the gym, I think, there's that old saying, right? You want to get over your girlfriend, get on another one. So, like, it's kind of that thing, right? And fighters mentality is, hey, if you want to get over the last fight, man, get into another one as fast as you can, and get back to training. And I think getting into the gym, getting around the guys, and supporting them in their camps as they supported you, and then getting back on track for your fights and building up your positivity and momentum and stuff like that, your confidence, getting that back up is very important and very key, getting into your next fight.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for two different reasons, like where Michael Chandler goes from here, because obviously he hasn't really been winning, but he's been fighting at a super high level, and maybe the dude's number 25 in the world and needs a more appropriate matchup, or maybe this is it and he's just too expensive. It's going to be interesting for Diego, who worked his way to a title, who is still young, is still exciting. He's obviously lost before. He was not an undefeated fighter, but this was a bad loss, not meaning like he got the crap beat out of him, but bad loss in that he seemed to take it very hard, understandably so. He was this close, didn't quite get there. I'm curious to see what happens with him and how he bounces back from this. Because when he lost to Evloev and he came back after that, he ran through a few people. That was short notice. That was a boring, wet blanket loss. You know, it is what it is. I couldn't defend the takedowns, right? It's probably an easier loss to accept. This was very different because Diego was in positions to win and didn't do those things. I am curious to see how he bounces back as a young guy, if he can just get that out of his head, or if he is a little frozen in the moment again. Or maybe this is the best thing that ever happened to him. He's young enough to get back to it, and maybe he learned an all-time lesson here. Let your hands go. Be more aggressive. Do what you can do in that moment. Don't wait for the next moment. Stop worrying about your cardio kind of thing. So I'm curious to see what happens to both of them. I'm curious to see what that agony of defeat is, and if that sort of lingers longer than it should and carries over into their next fights. Any last parting words of wisdom, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, Max Holloway's number one. He's going to the lightweight division, right? You've got Diego's number two. He'll be number one contender again. You got Ilia Topuria. He's in the lightweight division. You've got Yair Rodriguez, who will then be number two, right behind Diego Lopez. And then you got Evloev, and you've got Arnold Allen. So those guys will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So, and let's be honest, Volk, he's 36, 37 years old, you know, and he's got another year left in him. Any of these guys can beat him, I think, at this stage in his career. Not that he didn't have a great performance. I thought he fought very high fight IQ, but Lopez is going to be in that mix. And then you got Lerone Murphy, who's also down there because after Arnold Allen is Brian Ortega's going to 55. So you literally have your top 5 guys are all young talent. Diego Lopez, Yair Rodriguez, Evloev, Arnold Allen, and Lerone Murphy. Those are your top 5 guys right there that'll be filling out your 145-pound division. And I look for those guys to be mixing it up between each other. Some straggler will come along, like Jean Silva. He will eventually make his way. Zalal, Yusuf Zalal may make his way back up into that mix as well. But these guys have got a lot of energy left in them. They've got a lot of fight left in them, and look for them to make some more runs. It's really going to come down to the styles and the matchup, I believe. And I think the 145-pound division is going to be a fun division and for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to watch. Let us know below what you think about the losing side. If you think that loss is gonna materially impact the rest of Diego Lopez's career and some of the losses that you've seen your favorite fighter goes through and how they reacted to that. Let us know what you want our bad take to be next, and we appreciate the watch.